Dresden plates are so beautiful. So the first thing I did was cut out all of my pieces for my Dresden plate, and this is what they look like. Now, I'm going to fold over this long end, just like this, and sew this right here. Straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, back stitching when I start and when I stop. And I'm going to sew all of those like this. I'm gonna fold them in so they're pretty side to pretty side and sew them right here. Now I have 16 because there's gonna be 16 in my Dresden plate, and I'm going to chain piece mine. I'm going to back stitch when I chain piece, and I know lots of people don't. And it must work for them or they wouldn't do it. But y'all, my grandmother terrified me. She said if I did not back stitch, my stuff was gonna fall apart. So if you're asking me, I'm always back stitching. And I'm going to do all of these and then we'll iron them. This is my ironing situation. Heat resistant pad, wool mat, sheet iron, all available from Walmart, all linked in my Walmart storefront. That's linked in the caption if you're looking for them. So now we're gonna take our Dresden plate pieces and our finger, chopstick, handy dandy tool. Do not use your scissors, and flip the end of them out just like this. This is what we've sewn. We're just gonna push it out to make this pretty point, and then we're gonna iron it down. We're gonna do that to all of our pieces. So I've sewn them, I've turned them, and I've ironed them. Now we're gonna start sewing them together. There are 16 here, so I know that I can sew 2, 2, 2, 2, and then sew those 2 together to be 4 and those 4s together to be 8s, but we'll do it one step at a time. The first thing I'm gonna do is sew 2 together. I'm just gonna pick up 2 pieces, whatever 2 pieces I want. I'm only making sure that mine don't match, but if you want to lay all of your pieces out in a circle, and I know you do, then you can do that and then pick them up and sew them. And I'm gonna lay them pretty side to pretty side. I'm going to start sewing right here, okay? And I'm gonna sew down, because if your cutting is anything like mine, maybe they're not exactly the same, and so if you start up here, the points of your Dresden plates will all be even, and this down here is going to be the center circle that we're going to cover anyway. So sew those together just like this, straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, back stitching when you start and when you stop, because my grandma said so. I've sewn my 2s. Now I'm going to pick them up and sew them into 4s. All I'm doing is making sure that mine does not match. If you want to lay yours back out and make sure that you love the way it's going to look, that's what I want you to do. And we're going to sew these the same way. Straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, back stitching when you start and when you stop. Now we've sewn them together in 4s. Now I am going to lay mine back out and make sure that I like the way that it looks before I sew these together. Okay? Now I'm going to sew this one together and this one together. Straight stitch, 1/4 inch seam, back stitching when you start and when you stop. Now I'm gonna iron these 2, so I have 8 and 8, and they're gonna go together to make my complete circle. I'm gonna iron these, and then we're gonna sew it together. Now, I'm not ironing mine, worrying about my seams going any direction. I just want it to be reasonably flat, but I want you to iron it any way you want to. If you care which direction your seams go, then that's exactly how I want you to iron it. Now we have our 2. We're gonna put these 2, sew that, and then we're gonna put it on our background piece. Okay, my background piece is 18 inches by 18 inches because that's the size I make my appliques. That's the size we made the other blocks. And so that is the size we're making our Dresden plate, because we want it to fit in with the other blocks so we can make our sampler quilt. So now I'm gonna take my pins and I'm gonna pin it in a few places, and then we're just gonna go stitch around the outside of it. Now you can do that with a straight stitch, a zigzag, whatever it is that you like. This has finished edges, so it doesn't really matter which one you use. Now for the center, you are gonna need something to go there, and I'm gonna choose some of this same fabric, and I'm just cutting out a circle. But if you're not comfortable cutting a circle, then all you need to do is get you something small, a roll of ribbon or something else that's round, and trace your circle and cut it out. And then you're gonna put your circle on top of your Dresden plate, and that's gonna cover up all of this that's uneven down there, because I told y'all that my pieces might not all be exactly the same size. So there's my circle that's gonna go on there, and I'm gonna zigzag my circle down, and I'm gonna straight stitch the outside of it. And then we're going to have the prettiest Dresden plate. Now when I zigzag, I'm just centering my fabric underneath the center of my presser foot. I'm going to backstitch when I start and when I stop, and I'm going to go all the way around. Now circles aren't the easiest things to do, so slow and steady. There's no magic secret, I wish, but slow and steady and it'll be perfect, I promise. Now I'm going to go and straight stitch all the way around the outside tips of my Dresden plate. I'm going to straight stitch, and I'm going to sew it a little closer to the edge, kind of like a top stitch, but only sew as close as you're comfortable. And you're going to go out, in, up, down, all the way around. And yes, we're going to back stitch when we start and when we stop. And that's it. You've just finished the most precious Dresden plate. And you can add this between your set of appliques, or you can make an entire quilt out of it, or you can do a sampler like me. But I'm super excited to see the ones that y'all are making. My name is Tammy. I'm your favorite sewing teacher, and I would love for you to come sew with me.